You reach for the handrail, not because you have to, but because a quiet voice inside tells you it's safer that way. That voice wasn't there 20 years ago, but now it shows up when you're climbing stairs, getting out of bed, reaching for a pot in the kitchen. It's a whisper of caution, or maybe fear. What if I slip? What if I fall? But the real fear isn't the fall itself. It's what it could take from you. Your independence, your freedom, your ability to live life on your terms. One fracture, and suddenly, everyday routines feel risky. A home that once felt familiar can start to feel like an obstacle course. And here's the part no one tells you. Bone loss doesn't announce itself. It's not loud. It doesn't knock on the door. It erodes your strength quietly, year after year, until something gives way. Most of us think we're doing all the right things. Taking calcium, getting our vitamin D, eating healthy foods. But what if, without knowing it, we've been inviting the enemy into our own kitchens? I'm talking about two very common fruits. Fruits that seem harmless, even helpful. You might eat them for their antioxidants, or toss them into a smoothie believing they're doing your bones good. But behind the scenes, they may be interfering with your body's ability to absorb calcium, or worse, forcing your bones to surrender it. In just a moment, we'll uncover exactly what these two bone robbers are and why they matter so much more after the age of 60. You won't need to give them up completely, and you certainly won't need to memorize a complicated food chart. What you'll discover is surprisingly simple, a natural, science-backed shift that could change the way your bones age from this day forward. Let's take the first step together. If that made your stomach sink a little, you're not alone. Many of my patients have spent years trying to eat well, only to learn that some of their healthiest habits were actually working against them. It's frustrating and honestly unfair, but you deserve better. You deserve to know how your body works now, not how it worked decades ago. That's exactly why this channel exists, to offer honest, practical guidance that respects your stage of life and supports your health in ways that feel achievable, not overwhelming. So if you're tired of the noise, the fads, and the conflicting advice, I invite you to subscribe. This is a space for clarity, care, and real answers. And I'd love to hear from you. In the comments, tell me, what's one thing you've changed about your diet after turning 60, and how has it made you feel? Your experience might help someone else find their next step too. Now, let's gently pull back the curtain and look at the first hidden culprit, the fruit that quietly steals calcium before your body ever gets the chance to use it. So, we've established that not all fruits are created equal when it comes to bone health. The first category of bone robbers, we need to shine a light on our fruits that are exceptionally high in a natural compound called oxalates, or oxalic acid. Now, that word might sound technical, like something from a chemistry lab, but oxalates are simply naturally occurring substances found in many, many plant foods, from leafy greens to nuts to, yes, certain fruits. In small amounts, our bodies handle them just fine. But for those of us over 60, where every milligram of calcium counts, a diet consistently high in oxalates can become a serious problem. It acts like a silent calcium thief. Let me explain the why behind this. Imagine you've just had a lovely meal. You've included a source of calcium, maybe some yogurt, a glass of fortified milk, or even some calcium-rich greens like collards. That calcium travels down into your digestive system, ready and waiting to be absorbed into your bloodstream, so it can be shuttled off to fortify your bones. But if you've also eaten a food that's very high in oxalates in that same meal, something else happens entirely. Think of the oxalate molecule as a tiny, very specific magnet for calcium. As it tumbles through your digestive tract, it seeks out and latches onto calcium ions. This binding creates a new, larger compound called calcium oxalate. And here is the crucial point. This new compound is insoluble. Your intestinal wall simply cannot absorb it. It's too big and the wrong shape. So, instead of that precious calcium entering your body to do its job, it remains locked up, bound to the oxalate, and is ultimately escorted right out of your body as waste. You could be consuming the recommended amount of calcium every single day, but if it's consistently being hijacked by oxalates, a significant portion of it will never reach your bones. It's like depositing a paycheck into a bank account with a giant hole in the bottom. Let's put this into a real-world story. Think of a woman we'll call Eleanor. Eleanor is 72, sharp as a tack, and determined to stay active. She loves her garden, her grandchildren, and her morning routine. Every single morning, she makes a health smoothie. She's read all about the benefits of antioxidants, so she packs it with vibrant ingredients. Her favorite recipe includes a big handful of spinach, a few chunks of frozen banana, some berries, and, because she loves the tart flavor, a generous amount of rhubarb from her garden. For creaminess and protein, she adds a big scoop of Greek yogurt, knowing it's a great source of calcium. Eleanor feels like she's starting her day off perfectly. She's getting her vitamins, her fiber, and what she believes is a powerful dose of bone-building calcium. Yet, at her last checkup, her bone density scan came back with disappointing news. Her doctor is concerned. Eleanor is baffled and, frankly, a little defeated. But I'm doing everything right, she thinks. I have my yogurt every single day. What she doesn't realize is that two of her smoothie ingredients, the spinach and especially the rhubarb, are exceptionally high in oxalates. The oxalates from that rhubarb are aggressively binding with the calcium from her Greek yogurt, right there in the blender and in her digestive system. A huge percentage of that bone-building mineral is being neutralized before it even has a chance. Her good intentions are, unfortunately, being sabotaged by a chemical reaction she knows nothing about. This is why knowledge is so critical. So what do? First, we do not panic or ban these foods. Knowledge gives us the power to be strategic. The number one fruit to be mindful of is rhubarb. It is one of the highest oxalate foods in existence. The second one, less common but still extremely high, is star fruit, also known as carambola. Other fruits like figs, kiwis, and blackberries contain oxalates too, but in much lower amounts where simple moderation is usually sufficient. Our actionable plan is about being thoughtful. The first step is to practice moderation and separation. If you love rhubarb, think of it as a special treat, not a daily staple. And crucially, when you do enjoy it, try not to eat it at the same time as your main calcium source for the day. For instance, if you have yogurt for breakfast, it's wiser to save that rhubarb dessert for several hours after dinner. This simple separation gives the calcium a head start, allowing it to be absorbed before the oxalates enter the picture. You should also try to avoid Eleanor's mistake and not blend high oxalate foods like rhubarb or large amounts of spinach directly with your primary calcium sources like yogurt or milk. Instead, your main strategy for daily fruit intake should be to prioritize the vast majority of fruits that are low in oxalates. Wonderful choices include apples, pears, peaches, plums, grapes, melons, mangoes, and all citrus fruits. They give you all the vitamins and fiber you need, but without interfering with your body's ability to absorb calcium. By understanding this simple mechanism, you regain control. You can enjoy a wide variety of foods while making sure your body gets the calcium it so desperately needs to keep your bones strong and resilient. Now, we've seen how some fruits can act like thieves, preventing precious calcium from ever entering our system. But the second type of bone robber we need to unmask works in a much more insidious way. It doesn't just block the front door. It comes in and forces your body to raid its own savings. This process centers around one of the most critical, non-negotiable balances in your entire body: your blood's pH level. Let me explain the why. Your blood is designed to be slightly alkaline, operating in an incredibly narrow pH range of about 7.35 to 7.45. Any deviation from this is a red alert emergency for your body. Your life depends on maintaining this balance. The foods we eat, after they are metabolized, leave behind either an acidic or an alkaline ash. Foods like meats, dairy products, and many grains tend to be acid-forming. On the other hand, most vegetables and fruits are alkaline-forming. A healthy diet maintains a beautiful equilibrium. But a diet that is consistently heavy on acid-forming foods, without enough alkaline foods to balance it out, creates a state of chronic, low-grade metabolic acidosis. It's like a tiny, constant acidic rain falling inside your body. When your body senses this acidic tilt, it panics. It must neutralize that acid immediately to protect your blood. So, where does it turn for a fast-acting alkaline substance? It turns to the largest mineral reserve it has, your bones. Your skeleton is essentially a bank vault filled with alkaline minerals, primarily calcium phosphate. In this emergency, your body makes a withdrawal. It leaches these alkaline minerals directly from your bones and releases them into the bloodstream to buffer the acid and restore that critical pH balance. In the short term, this is a brilliant, life-saving strategy. But when your diet forces this to happen day after day, week after week, for years on end, it's catastrophic. You are consistently sacrificing your structural integrity, the very framework of your body, just to manage your daily internal chemistry. It's like tearing out the wooden beams from your house to burn in the fireplace to stay warm. You're solving an immediate problem, but creating a much, much bigger one down the road. Your bones become porous, weak, and brittle. Now, you might be thinking of acidic-tasting fruits like lemons, oranges, or tomatoes. For years, these have been mistakenly blamed. But here is a crucial scientific truth. Those fruits, despite tasting acidic, are actually alkaline-forming in the body once metabolized. They are your allies, not your enemies. The real culprit is not a specific whole fruit, but rather a specific form of fruit that has become all too common in our modern diet. The second bone robber is heavily processed fruit, specifically commercial fruit juices and fruits canned in heavy syrup. Let's imagine a gentleman we'll call George. George is 68, a retired accountant who prides himself on being sensible. A few years ago, his doctor told him to watch his sugar, so he proudly cut out his daily soda. He replaced it with a large glass of orange juice every morning, believing it to be a pure, healthy choice. For dessert, he often has a bowl of peaches canned in heavy syrup, a comforting taste from his childhood. He thinks he's making good choices. Yet, he feels a growing sense of fatigue. He has a dull ache in his lower back he just chalks up to old age. He feels a little more fragile, a little less solid on his feet. What George doesn't understand is the biochemistry of his choices. The commercial orange juice, stripped of all its natural fiber, is a concentrated shot of sugar that hits his system hard, contributing to an acid load and inflammation. The heavy syrup in his canned peaches is even worse. It's pure, refined sugar, one of the most acid-forming ingredients imaginable. It completely negates any alkalizing benefit from the peaches themselves. His diet, which he thinks is reasonable, is forcing his body into that constant, low-grade acidic state. The fatigue he feels, the dull aches, that is the feeling of his body constantly fighting this internal battle, the feeling of his own skeleton being slowly dismantled to pay a metabolic debt. The actionable insight here is incredibly empowering because it's so simple. The solution is not to avoid fruit, but to embrace fruit in its whole, natural form. Choose a whole orange over orange juice. The fiber in the whole orange slows sugar absorption, and the complete package of vitamins and minerals works together to promote an alkaline state. When buying canned fruit, make it a non-negotiable rule to only buy fruit packed in water or its own natural juice, never in light or heavy syrup. Better yet, opt for fresh or frozen fruits, which retain their full nutritional integrity. These whole foods are your best defense, helping to provide the alkaline buffers your body needs so it doesn't have to steal them from your bones. So we have the calcium thief, high oxalate fruits, blocking absorption. And we have the acid raider, processed, sugary fruits, forcing your body to leach minerals from within. But there's a third, powerful factor that ties all of this together, an invisible force that can accelerate bone loss dramatically. We need to talk about the master saboteur of our long-term health, chronic inflammation. To understand this, let's first think about what inflammation is supposed to do. When you get a splinter or twist your ankle, your body sends a flood of healing chemicals to the area. It gets red, swollen, warm, and painful. This is acute inflammation. It's a good thing. It's your body's heroic first responder team, fighting off infection and starting the repair process. But what happens when that response team never goes home? What happens when the alarm bells are ringing softly, all the time, all over your body? That is chronic inflammation. It's not a roaring blaze. It's a slow, smoldering fire in your cells, silently damaging tissues and disrupting delicate systems. One of the most delicate systems it disrupts is the lifelong process of bone remodeling. I want you to picture your skeleton not as a fixed, concrete structure, but as a bustling city that is constantly being rebuilt. In this city, you have two key work crews. You have the demolition crew, cells called osteoclasts, whose job is to break down old, brittle bone to make way for new. And you have the construction crew, cells called osteoblasts, whose job is to build new, strong, flexible bone. In a healthy body, these two crews work in perfect, beautiful balance. Demolition happens, construction follows. Your skeleton completely renews itself over about 10 years. But chronic inflammation is like a corrupt city manager who only cares about demolition. The inflammatory signals, these chemicals called cytokines that are constantly circulating in your blood, are like a bullhorn screaming at the demolition crew, the osteoclasts, to work faster, harder, and nonstop. At the same time, it tells the construction crew, the osteoblasts, to take a coffee break. The balance is shattered. Your body is breaking down bone far faster than it can rebuild it. This relentless, inflammation-driven demolition is a primary driver of osteoporosis. Let's think about this through the eyes of a woman named Carol. Carol is 69 and has been living with osteoarthritis in her hands and knees for years. She knows the feeling of inflammation intimately. It's the stiffness in her fingers in the morning, the deep ache in her knee after a walk. Recently, her doctor told her she has osteopenia, that her bone density is low. In her mind, these are two completely separate battles. The arthritis is a problem in her joints. The bone loss is a problem in, well, her bones. She feels exhausted, like her body is betraying her on multiple fronts. What Carol needs to understand, for her own peace of mind and for her health, is that it's not two separate battles. It's one war, being fought on different fronts. The very same inflammatory fire that is causing the pain and swelling in her cartilage is also raging through her skeleton, fueling that overactive demolition crew. The systemic, body-wide inflammation is the root cause. This realization can be a turning point. It means that any action she takes to cool that fire will help her joints and her bones simultaneously. This is where the power shifts back to you. The most powerful tool we have to control this internal fire is on our plate. And this brings us full circle to our fruit conversation. We now understand that avoiding the acid raider, those sugary fruit juices and fruits in heavy syrup, is a profoundly anti-inflammatory act. Refined sugar is gasoline for the inflammatory fire. So simply by making that one change, you are taking a massive step toward protecting your bones. But we can also go on the offensive. We can actively eat foods that quiet the fire. Your strategy should be to fill your diet with vibrant, whole foods. When it comes to fruit, this means prioritizing the ones packed with anti-inflammatory compounds. Think of deep, rich colors. Dark berries like blueberries, blackberries, and raspberries are loaded with antioxidants called anthocyanins that are proven to reduce inflammation. Deep red cherries have been studied for their powerful effect on joint pain and inflammation. Even tropical fruits like pineapple contain a special enzyme called bromelain, which acts as a natural anti-inflammatory. By making these fruits your daily staples, you are arming your body with the very nutrients it needs to calm the system and restore that crucial balance between your bone-building and bone demolition crews. We've spent a good amount of time in the shadows, unmasking the culprits that can work against our bone health. It was necessary work, because knowledge is our first line of defense. But now, it's time to step into the light. It's time to talk about the heroes of this story. Because for every food that poses a potential risk, there are dozens that are powerful, dedicated allies in our quest for strong, resilient bones. This is where the story gets exciting. This is where we build our fortress. Our first and most stalwart ally in the fruit kingdom is a fruit that many of us take for granted, but one that is a true bone-building powerhouse, the humble prune. Yes, dried plums. For years, prunes have been typecast, relegated to the single role of a digestive aid. And while they are excellent for that, their most impressive, scientifically backed benefit is their extraordinary effect on bone density. This isn't just folk wisdom. A growing body of research, including rigorous clinical trials, has shown that eating a serving of just 5 to 6 prunes a day can help prevent and even reverse bone loss in postmenopausal women. Let's look at the why. Prunes are not a one-trick pony. They are a symphony of bone-supporting nutrients working in concert. First, they are an excellent source of vitamin K. We often hear about vitamin D and calcium, but vitamin K is the lesser-known, yet absolutely critical, third leg of the stool. Think of it this way. Vitamin D helps you absorb calcium from your gut. But once that calcium is in your bloodstream, vitamin K is like the traffic cop. It activates a protein called osteocalcin, which directs the calcium out of the blood and binds it directly onto the bone matrix. Without enough vitamin K, calcium can float around aimlessly and even end up in places it shouldn't, like your arteries. Prunes deliver a potent dose of this essential director. Furthermore, they contain vital minerals like boron and manganese, which play supporting roles in the bone remodeling process. But perhaps most importantly, prunes are packed with unique phenolic compounds, powerful antioxidants, that appear to do something remarkable. They seem to directly dial down the activity of those overzealous demolition cells, the osteoclasts, that we talked about earlier. They calm the inflammatory fire we just discussed, helping to restore that crucial balance between bone breakdown and bone formation. Let's imagine a man we'll call Arthur. Arthur is 75, a widower who lives a quiet, structured life. He's seen what a hip fracture did to his older brother, and the fear of it haunts him. He takes his calcium pill and his vitamin D capsule every morning with military precision. It's a ritual, but he still feels a baseline level of anxiety about his fragility. He feels passive, like he's just waiting for something bad to happen. Now imagine Arthur learns about the power of prunes. He decides to make a change. He starts a new, simple ritual every morning with his coffee. He slowly and mindfully eats 5 prunes. It's a small act, but for Arthur, it's transformative. It's not just about the vitamins and minerals. It's about taking an active, positive step. It's a moment in his day that feels proactive, not just defensive. He's not just popping a pill. He's eating a whole food, something delicious and nourishing. Over the months, this small habit becomes a cornerstone of his sense of self-care. He starts to feel more in control, more resilient. He may not be able to feel his bones getting denser on a daily basis, but he can feel his fear receding, replaced by a quiet confidence. He is no longer just defending against loss. He is actively building strength. And the second hero in our story is an entire family of fruits that we have already briefly mentioned, but which deserve their own spotlight: citrus fruits. Oranges, grapefruits, lemons, and limes are champions of bone health for a reason that goes far beyond their alkaline-forming nature. They are, of course, the most famous source of vitamin C. We tend to think of vitamin C as an immune booster for fighting colds, but its role in our structural integrity is just as profound. Vitamin C is absolutely essential for the synthesis of collagen. Collagen is the protein that forms the flexible, web-like matrix of your bones. If your bones were a building, calcium would be the bricks and concrete, but collagen would be the steel rebar that runs through it all, giving it tensile strength and flexibility. Without sufficient collagen, bones become chalky and brittle, like concrete without rebar. They might be hard, but they shatter under pressure. By ensuring a consistent intake of vitamin C through citrus fruits, you are providing your construction crew, the osteoblasts, with the raw materials they need to weave that strong, flexible collagen framework. This is what gives bone its ability to bend slightly under stress rather than snapping. It's the difference between a tree branch that sways in the wind and one that cracks. So, the actionable message here is one of joyful addition, not fearful subtraction. Make it a goal to incorporate these bone-building allies into your daily life. Try Arthur's ritual of 5 or 6 prunes a day. Start your morning with half a grapefruit or squeeze fresh lemon into your water throughout the day. Add orange slices to your salad. By consciously choosing these fruits, you are not just avoiding harm. You are actively participating in your own health. You are providing your body with the specific tools it needs to cool inflammation, direct calcium effectively, and build a strong, resilient, collagen-rich framework. This is the path to feeling strong, stable, and confident on your feet for all the years to come. So, where have we traveled together today? We started with a very real and understandable fear, that quiet whisper of fragility that can creep into our lives after 60. We looked at how something as innocent as our daily fruit bowl could, under certain circumstances, be part of the problem. We unmasked the calcium thief in high oxalate fruits like rhubarb, which can block our body's access to this vital mineral. We exposed the acid raider in sugary, processed fruit products that can force our body to raid our own bones just to maintain its delicate internal balance. And we understood how the smoldering fire of chronic inflammation acts as a master saboteur, accelerating this entire process of bone loss. But to end there would be to miss the entire point of this conversation. This was never about creating a list of forbidden foods or adding to your anxieties. It was about turning on the lights in a room that, for too long, has been dark and confusing. The true takeaway from our time together today is a message of profound control and empowerment. The narrative of bone loss is not something that has to happen to you. It is a process you can actively, intelligently, and powerfully influence every single day. Think of the story we've told. It's a story about nuance, about looking beyond the headlines of "eat more fruit" to understand the why and the how. It's a story that replaces fear with strategy, You are no longer like Eleanor, unknowingly sabotaging her best efforts with her morning smoothie. You are no longer like George, thinking his juice is a healthy choice while it contributes to his body's silent struggle. Instead, you can now be like Arthur, who found in a few simple prunes a daily ritual of empowerment, a way to actively build the future he wants to live in. The strength of our bones is, in many ways, a perfect metaphor for the strength of our lives as we age. It's not about being rigid and unyielding. It's about being resilient. It's about having a strong but flexible framework that allows us to bend without breaking, to withstand the unexpected shocks, and to remain upright, stable, and engaged in the world. The knowledge you've gained today is the tool you need to build that resilience. It's the understanding that allows you to nourish your body with intention, to cool the fires of inflammation, and to give your bones the heroes they deserve. You hold the power to write the next chapter of your health story, and it can be a story of strength. If this conversation has brought you value and clarity today, please consider helping others find it by giving this video a like. It's a small click for you, but it tells the platform that this is important information that more people in our community need to see. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to join our growing family. We are committed to continuing these in-depth, empowering conversations about navigating our health with wisdom and confidence. Your presence here makes our community stronger. Thank you so much for your time and your trust today. Remember, every meal is an opportunity to build a stronger you. Be well, stay strong, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.